Technological change is not additive, it is ecological. A new technology does not merely add something, it changes everything. This fascinating quote from Neil Postman really illustrates our progression as species. I think we can all agree that one of the most influential inventions in modern history is the internet. Nowadays, we take this invention for granted. Some call it a tool, and others call it an addiction. Hi, I'm Brandon Price, and let's uncover the underlying consequences of the internet.
Other people's personal opinions can be misconstrued as truth, that what they've read or seen has no validity in real life. So on that side of the internet, I can see it becoming it's quite negative towards mental health, certainly in older people.
You know, internet, YouTube, it doesn't stop.
And this got me thinking, what if I gave up using the internet for an entire month? Can I stay fully disconnected in a world that is always connected?
They want to deliver vast amounts of information over the internet.
It's the internet's world, and we're just living in it. The internet was originally invented for government researchers and scientists to communicate between each other. But as the internet got refined, the public started gaining access to it, and it started to be used as entertainment. Instead of using it for knowledge, it was being used as a stimulus.
It could just be that people are bored. Either they're bored and they want to be entertained, or again, it's something that they don't want to see, so they're trying to fill that, they cover that up with something else.
Globally, people's screen time per day, on average, is just under 7 hours, but it gets worse when you're younger. People between the age of 12 to 27 have an average screen time of 9 hours. Before production of this documentary, I set up a survey for the public to answer. I asked the public what they think the average screen time is, and they guessed 4 hours. That is close to being half of the actual screen time. We are so blissfully unaware of our own circumstances, and there are no signs of improving. We have grown so dependent on our computers and our phones to the point where we struggle to live without them. The biggest reason being our mental health.
My name's Ollie. I am a clinical mental health and LD trainer for the NHS. So mental health is, or can be described as your kind of emotional, your psychological and your kind of social well-being really.
Hello, I'm Danielle Eves and I'm an independent mental health advocate. So mental health is your psychological, your social and your emotional well-being. That can be how you deal with stress, how resilient you are, and like your physical health, you can have good days, bad days, and that can fluctuate.
According to the National Institute of Mental Health, heavy users of internet are 5 times more likely to suffer from depression than non-heavy users. The term mental health gets used a lot, but it can often be misunderstood.
Yeah, I think at the moment depression is a difficult topic. I think one of the things that's quite hard about it, especially in the male side of things, it's very hard to talk about things like depression. And we still have a culture in some areas of kind of man up and just get on with things and you'll be all right. And actually that pushes it kind of out of that kind of conversation circle.
The internet can be a leading cause of this problem. The content input that people will have controls what they output. In other words, content creators and channels can change an audience perspective on life through influence and dramatized stories.
So the internet can have quite a big impact upon someone's mental health. For example, there's been quite a few people I've supported who have eating disorders, and the internet has been actually quite a big factor within their eating disorder. They follow certain Instagrammers who also have eating disorders and kind of promote eating disorders, and some influencers also promote self-harm.
Hi, my name's Carl Hart. I'm the founder and director of Men Only Isle of Wight, based in Ryde. We talk to a lot of guys in here who are older that go on the internet and become very concerned or upset or anxious because of something they've read, that what they've read or seen has no validity in real life. It's something someone's put on there because it was something they thought of. So on that side of the internet, I can see it becoming quite negative towards mental health, certainly in older people.
Sometimes the news apps can also be really affecting, as sometimes the news is really depressing, and that can have a real impact upon your day-to-day life. So I know quite a lot of people, they've deleted their news apps, so they don't have that flashing up constantly on their phones.
All these fake articles mostly spread via social media. Although we all know what we gain from social media, the negatives can often be ignored, especially when you're the victim of these negative effects. MySpace was the first social media to gain over 1 million active users. This marks the beginning of a billion-dollar industry that would soon take over half of the global population's minds, motives, and most importantly, mental health.
We are a social species. We crave that social interaction. The more social interaction we have face to face with people, the more we can build up our emotional awareness. And what that does, it helps us then cope later on in life with stressful situations. In the same way with social media, you need to have that face to face interaction so people can be socially isolated in that instance. In the same way, there'll be times where people would have experienced being at a party, for example, and everyone else is talking around them, and they are just going to stand there on their own. At that point, they are socially isolated, and it is affecting their mental health.
Humans seek social validation, and that is more prevalent than ever when on social media. When we get a comment on a post online, although we might not know that person or their background, their opinion still matters to us. The obsession for people's opinions online and higher numbers can be many people's priorities in life. This causes higher screen time and can make people glued to their phones. Social media is no longer a tool for communication. It is an addiction.
An addiction is essentially a habit that's got out of control. Addiction drives the person rather than person driving the habit. There's a lot of anxiety around addictions. People find their lives, they construct their lives around their addiction. For example, if we use smoking as an example, there are people that cannot start their day unless they get out of bed, have a cigarette, have a cup of tea. They have to do that.
Perhaps you can see the relation between Carl's example and internet addiction. When you wake up, is the first thought of yours to check your phone? Whether to check recent news on social media, or to watch a video, film, or episode? Perhaps the majority of you are in the same boat. We all get affected by this addiction, however there are many ways to improve ourselves.
If people are affected by the internet, there's loads of stuff out there. You can go online and they will talk about things like having apps which have got timers on them. They're saying about going out and getting fresh air, having face-to-face contact with friends. I know from people who kind of shut off from the internet or social media, whether they choose to go and live in a shack in the middle of the jungle or in the mountains, or people who just stop it altogether for a month or so, their mental health has always improved. It's always been a positive. So in that respect, moving away from technology and moving back into kind of human nature and human interaction is going to be a positive from it.
And this got me thinking, what if I gave up using the internet for an entire month? Can I stay fully disconnected in a world that is always connected? Here are the rules I'll be following throughout the month. Firstly, I cannot have any access to the internet at all in this month. Secondly, any activities that require the internet to function, such as cinemas, are prohibited during the month. Over this month, I will need to find various methods to counteract the use of the internet. And we will see how this social experiment unfolds.
It's a viable option. It's not something that I would ever recommend. I don't ever recommend anybody just stopping anything that they have an addiction with. You have to understand that an addiction happens over a period of time. Like we said, it starts with a habit and moves on. The same coming the other way. What you would do is you'd replace the negative internet activities with something slightly more positive.
Carl suggests to slowly ease your internet connection. And even though that is effective and highly recommended, the question that I am asking is, what will happen if I cut internet out of my life fully? What will my mental state be like? And most importantly, can I last an entire month? the first day of the challenge, and I'm already feeling it. With no internet, my stimulus has gone down dramatically, and I don't think I can last a whole month. It's going to be crazy to me if I do actually complete the whole month.
My name is Elamie Drucker. I'm a regression therapist and hypnotherapist, and I specialize in between life spiritual regression. If you're asking a monk, a Buddhist monk, to cut off from stimulus, not much would change for him. If I would ask a teenager nowadays who's normally glued to their phone, who's got a screen time of 10 hours a day, and then to go cold turkey, I think that could be quite confrontational and quite difficult.
First thing that I noticed about the no internet challenge is how quiet the house can be when there is no internet. I'm home alone right now, and that means there's nothing going on at all. Honestly, the silence is driving me a bit crazy because I'm trying to find ways to entertain myself, yet all my efforts are futile in the end because there's just nothing to do. I used to play piano like a couple years ago. I taught myself, and I haven't really got back round to it, and so I thought, let's try to learn my old songs again, which is quite boring to be honest, but it meant I can do something that would drive my brain and focus my brain on something that I might not be doing otherwise. The second day has been worse probably than the first day. I feel like my boredom is stacking upon like block by block until I can no longer cope. But I feel like I'm at that stage right now where I'm at like the second day, second block, and I feel like, you know, my mind is still like active, and I feel like I can still replace some of my previous internet activities with things that don't take the internet, or that don't need the internet. The silence is still getting to me a little bit. I need something to fill in the silence in the house, but I haven't found that thing yet.
Because if you're used to all the noise around you, all of a sudden there is no noise. Wow. That could be the time that all of the stuff you've been pushing away by looking on internet, all of that stuff, no more internet, so it's all going to come flooding back.
Doing this challenge by myself, it makes me feel more alone and more isolated from everyone who has internet access. The silence really messes with my mind right now. I thought I would not be addicted to the internet, but now I'm second guessing myself. I came into this challenge thinking that this would be easy and relaxing. I considered this to be a much needed break from the world. Instead, it seems like a break from stimulus and from a distracted mind. I just don't know how I'm going to get through this challenge. I thought I'll be more productive, but it doesn't seem like it's going that way at all. I feel like I'm just procrastinating, and I'm noticing that everywhere around me is the internet. Everywhere the internet is always around me, and I feel like I can't function with society without using the internet. It's enough to make you feel isolated, and it just made me realise that it's the internet's world and we're just living in it.
When I grew up, we would be playing on the streets, and when our mums would call us in saying it's time for dinner, there might be a television program or something, but there wasn't, or we had toys, but there wasn't the 24/7, the shops would close at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they would close at Sundays. Now everything is 24 hours a day, internet, YouTube, it doesn't stop. So I would say definitely there's a lot more stimulus these days than there used to be.
This first week is not going to plan. Coming into this challenge, I thought that I would be more productive. However, I'm feeling down and bored throughout most of the days. I've realised that my daily routine is like this. Wake up for work, finish work at 11 AM, and then get home at 11:30. I then go to college for the day. Once I'm finished at college, I go home for dinner, and after dinner I have the rest of the evening to myself. And that is the hardest part of the day. just been so difficult. Because I'm doing a very strict no internet challenge, it means that I have to avoid the internet like it's the plague, if that makes sense. And it's just so it's very difficult to avoid the internet because it's always around you, you know? The internet is all around you, on everyone's phones, on everyone's computers, and now on everyone's TVs. And it's just so stressful to look at something like, is that internet? Is that not internet? Oh, it's internet, back away. Kind of something like that. I'm on a walk today. The reason why I'm on a walk today it's about 10 o'clock right now, is because I have nothing better to do. I feel quite lonely right now. I have got a radio, and that radio is fine and all. However, it only gives me something to listen to, not something to talk to or interact with in any way. It's quite sad that I'm having to resort to talking to a camera to actually have some conversation with someone, because usually, like, I would be talking to someone online right now, whether that is playing a game or just on call with someone while I'm doing something. However, I can't really call the people that I want to because I forgot to ask for their phone number before this challenge, and they live across the country or across the world, so it's quite an issue. It's made me kind of realise how I know people get addicted to the internet, and that's not good. You shouldn't be addicted to the internet. But at the end of the day, we are all social creatures, and when we already have such a strong stimulus throughout the day, lacking that stimulus can be detrimental to your mental health, really. When you have no one to talk to, it can be quite daunting at times how some real your thoughts and where your brain goes, really.
I see it as walking away from pain. There's something you don't want to see, so instead you're doing something else. And I think especially something like an internet addiction is perfect for that. If you don't want to see the big elephant in the room, then focusing on a little screen and just looking at that for hours and hours, then you're not thinking about that elephant anymore because you're just focusing on what's on internet.
The only thing I feel like I have done better at is interact with people. I know I've just went on a rant of how antisocial this whole week has been, but I've been on my phone less, and in a way that is a positive. It was day 13, and at this point I was strongly considering failing the challenge because of how miserable the evening can be, but I knew that I had to keep on going. I finally told myself that I would get through this challenge, and so I needed to find ways to improve my mental health and give myself a stronger mindset.
As hard as you can, find something to replace those sort of needs and feelings. So if you go for a walk and hang out with your friends, fresh air, vitamin D from the sun, those are simple steps that you can do yourself.
When it's evening and everyone's on their own devices, except for me obviously, it can be quite difficult to find something to do. I thought something like walking the dog would be a great pastime, and it is. Now that I've gotten used to my isolation from the internet, I feel like I have grown as a person, and each day is getting easier and easier. It's coming up to the 3rd week of the challenge, and honestly, I feel much better. This no internet challenge has made me reflect a lot on my life and how I've lived my life, and yes, I did hit a wall, and yes, I really had to vent to myself, really had to chat to myself I felt like I used the camera and my phone camera to really just let out some of my feelings and let out some of my judgments I have on myself. So after all of this, after all this talking, I felt like I've actually grown as a person, which sounds weird, but looking back at all of the talking stuff has made me feel a lot more positive, a lot more comfortable about myself as well. But yeah, I just feel a lot more alive, and I feel like nothing can hold me back anymore. I feel like the worst is over. During the first couple of weeks of the challenge, I felt like I wanted the challenge to end early, you know? I wanted the 2 weeks to finish because I was so desperate to get back to my normal life. I was so desperate to cower away. I wanted to cower away from my feelings. I wanted to cower away from what made me me. I wanted to experience the world from a societal point of view. But now it's coming up to the 3rd week. I want to experience the world. I want to use this challenge to my advantage and do things that I normally wouldn't do if I didn't have internet. I have found another hobby of mine that I'm trying to replace with the internet, and that is playing cards, and not playing with those cards, but instead building towers. And that has been my focus for the past couple of days, is how high can I get my tower. Another thing that I've done is try to hold on to my hobby of chess. I do love chess, and I have found myself playing games against myself, which can be quite fun because I'm trying to find like the best method around things for both opponents. But chess can be quite boring when you know what the other player's gonna do. This week, I think I've been a lot social and a lot happier than I've been in a long time. I mean, I've been talking to family a lot. I've been out of my room a lot. Like, usually I'm in my room quite a lot if I'm at home, and now not so much. I tend to talk to family. I've watched TV with the family, and I think over this past month, I think I've grown closer to the people around me. I'm just happy that I've got to the end of the challenge and I haven't regretted it. My main worry was regretting the challenge, but now I think I'm a lot more social. I'm a lot more outgoing. When I'm at work and I talk to people at work, I try to use it to my advantage and talk to them as much as possible. I try to talk to people at college as much as possible. I'm quite sad that the no internet challenge is coming to an end, but I'm also quite relieved.
I highly recommend doing this challenge and try to learn who you really are. If you really are thinking about contributing to this challenge, I made sure to get a few tips for you.
My advice would be to be gentle on yourself, go easy on yourself. If it's something, if you're going from, let's say, 5 hours every night, going on internet, to going 0 hours, know that it can be quite difficult, it can be confrontational, so don't beat yourself up over it if you're struggling, because I can imagine it is really difficult. And I would also suggest reach out to your friends, maybe do it with a buddy, or with your sister, with your brother, so you've got that support. You can just have a chat or go for a run, go for a walk. That tends to be really good for mental health anyway.
They've also got like certain settings on their technology, so they can see how long they're spending and limit that amount each day. It's like a little goal.
You need to put something else in place. And what I think we'd find, whether it's someone who's giving up altogether or whether it's someone who's looking at slowly giving things up, actually if you replace one thing with another thing, what you'll start to find is your mental health will increase, it will get better for things.
This month of no internet has taught me a lot about myself. I grew up with the internet, meaning most of my time was spent connected, but that is never your true self. During this month, I've discovered how social I can be. I may have found the first couple of weeks difficult, but over time I found new interests, new hobbies, and most importantly, a new mind. The internet is a massive part of our society. When I lived a month without connection, I noticed how accepting we are to let the internet take control of our lives. As time passes, the internet will have a greater hold on future generations. So the question lies, are we too far gone? I believe so, but it doesn't mean we can't limit ourselves. Whilst you're watching this documentary, whether it is on your phone, your TV, or on your computer, just know that this isn't you. This is you. I'm Brian Price, and just remember that the internet is one big social experiment. Let's hold on to what makes us who we are, and leave behind what holds us back.